Relax now. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow, deepening with each gentle inhale and each unhurried exhale. You are safe here. This is your time. Your quiet time. The world outside can wait. For now it is only you and the sound of my voice. Feel the softness of your pillow beneath you, the comfort of blankets wrapped close. With each word, you're drifting just a little further away from the noise of the day. If thoughts try to wander, that's all right. Let them pass, like clouds floating lazily across a pale morning sky, and simply return to the sound of my voice. Your eyes may begin to grow heavier now, and with that heaviness comes a calm, a stillness, a readiness to wander into another place. Our story today begins within the high stone walls of a quiet monastery, far away from the rush of cities, tucked deep into the green folds of the medieval countryside. It is the hour just before sunset, when the light is gold and soft and the air is warm with the scent of summer herbs. You are standing at the edge of the garden of healing herbs. A low wooden gate stands before you, its hinges old, the wood darkened by centuries of weather. Beyond it, neat rows of rosemary, sage, and lavender stretch out in patterns, as carefully arranged as a monk's illuminated manuscript. The garden is quiet, except for the gentle hum of bees and the slow rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. The healer of the monastery, an elderly woman wrapped in a simple gray cloak, moves slowly between the rows, her wicker basket swinging from one arm. She walks without hurry, her bare feet brushing the soft earth, pausing often to touch a leaf, to hold it close to her face, and breathe in its fragrance. In the Middle Ages, such gardens were lifelines. Monks and healers grew plants not only for cooking, but for remedies recorded in thick leather-bound herbals: rosemary to clear the mind, sage to ease a fever, lavender to soothe the restless. Every sprig was precious, gathered with care, for it might save a life come winter. The scent of rosemary reaches you first, sharp, clean, and resinous. Its thin green needles glisten faintly with evening dew. You hear the whisper of sage leaves as the healer brushes her fingertips over them. Their surface is soft as velvet. They smell warm and earthy like bread baked in a wood-fired oven. And then, lavender. Clusters of tiny purple blooms sway in the soft wind, releasing a sweet, calming perfume that seems to slow time itself. You breathe it in, and with each breath, your body relaxes more deeply into stillness. The healer's basket fills, the gentle snip, snip, of her small iron scissors punctuating the quiet. She hums a low tune, a melody without words passed down from healer to healer. It's not a song for the living alone, but one the monks believe the plants themselves can hear. She places a sprig of rosemary into the basket, then a handful of sage. Movements are so slow, so deliberate. You could almost believe the earth itself is breathing in rhythm with her. In the scriptorium inside the monastery, a herbal manuscript lies open, its pages painted with careful drawings of each plant, and notes in Latin on how to prepare their medicines. It is said that some of these recipes came from far across the seas, carried by travelers who traded silk for spices, and returned with both healing secrets and stories. The healer pauses near a weathered stone bench at the garden center. You join her there, feeling the cool touch of the stone beneath your fingers. It has been worn smooth by countless seasons of sun and rain. The light is fading now. The sky above is brushed with soft streaks of pink and gold. Somewhere, a dove coos from the cloister archway. The sound is low and tender, like a lullaby meant for the night itself. The healer's basket fills, the gentle snip, snip, of her small iron scissors punctuating the quiet. She hums a low tune, a melody without words passed down from healer to healer. It's not a song for the living alone, but one the monks believe the plants themselves can hear. She places a sprig of rosemary into the basket, then a handful of sage. Movements are so slow, so deliberate. You could almost believe the earth itself is breathing in rhythm with her. Background medieval detail. In the scriptorium inside the monastery, a herbal manuscript lies open, its pages painted with careful drawings of each plant and notes in Latin on how to prepare their medicines. It is said that some of these recipes came from far across the seas, carried by travelers who traded silk for spices, and returned with both healing secrets and stories. The healer pauses near a weathered stone bench at the garden center. You join her there, feeling the cool touch of the stone beneath your fingers. It has been worn smooth by countless seasons of sun and rain. The light is fading now. The sky above is brushed with soft streaks of pink and gold. Somewhere, a dove coos from the cloister archway. The sound is low and tender, like a lullaby meant for the night itself. The basket is nearly full now, and the healer turns toward the gate. Her steps slow, her figure wrapped in the deepening dusk. But before we follow her, let's linger just a little longer, feeling the weight of the warm air, the scent of herbs wrapping around you like a gentle cloak, and let yourself drift. The healer pushes the gate open with a creak that echoes softly in the warm dusk. Beyond the garden wall, the monastery grounds are still, the air touched with the faint smoke of the kitchen hearth where bread bakes for tomorrow's dawn meal. You step through with her, feeling the difference in the air. From the close, herb-scented warmth of the garden to the cooler breeze that carries whispers from the distant hills. The path beneath your feet is cobbled, each stone worn smooth by centuries of quiet footsteps. The moon is rising now, a pale silver coin resting low in the sky. In the Middle Ages, the life within these walls moved by the rhythm of the canonical hours. Matins in the deep night, lauds at dawn, prime, terce, sext, none, and now the stillness after vespers. This was a sacred hush, a time for reflection before sleep. It is here, in this unhurried hour, that the healer brings her gathered herbs to be prepared for the days ahead. She leads you into a small side chamber near the cloister, its walls lined with shelves of clay jars, each carefully labeled in the rounded script of a practiced hand. You notice the flicker of a single oil lamp, its light dancing on glass bottles filled with liquids of amber, green, and deep crimson. The air here is different, thicker, carrying the mingled scents of dried thyme, crushed mint, and something faintly sweet like honey. The healer sets her basket on a wide wooden table. She begins with the rosemary, laying the sprigs out in neat rows, their slender leaves catching the lamplight like threads of silver. You hear the soft tearing of twine as she prepares to bind them into small bundles to hang from the low beams overhead. Each movement is unhurried. The rustle of the herbs, the faint thump of the basket being moved, the almost silent swish of cloth as her sleeves brush the table. These are the sounds of peace. She takes the sage next. The leaves fold gently under her fingers, and she hums again, a tune that seems to match the slow beat of your heart. She explains in a voice so soft it feels like a secret, that sage was once believed to grant wisdom and even lengthen life if gathered with the right blessings. She smiles faintly, as if the plants themselves know this to be true. Lavender is last. She cradles the purple blooms in both hands, breathing deeply before placing them into a large ceramic bowl. The scent fills the room, settling into every corner, softening the air itself. With a small pestle, she begins to crush the blooms. Slow, circular motions, releasing more of their calming perfume with each turn. In medieval times, lavender was often sewn into small linen pillows, tucked beside the sleeper's head to invite gentle dreams. Some healers believed it kept away nightmares, others that it eased the spirit's passage into the realm of rest. You imagine such a pillow now, its weight light, its scent wrapping around your mind like a warm embrace. The healer works in silence for a time, her hands sure and steady. You feel your breath slowing to match her rhythm, as though the work itself is lulling you. Outside the chamber, the wind shifts, bringing the faint sound of the cloister fountain, its water falling in soft, endless notes. It is easy to imagine that this sound has never stopped, flowing day and night, season after season. For as long as the monastery has stood, when the herbs are prepared, the healer takes a small earthen cup, fills it with water from a wooden jug, and drops in a few crushed lavender blooms. She offers it to you with a nod, her way of saying, "Drink and let the night be gentle." The water is cool, and the lavender taste is faint, almost like a memory on the tongue. It leaves you feeling lighter, as though your thoughts have been sifted clean. She tells you that tonight you may rest in one of the guest cells, a small stone room with a narrow bed, a wool blanket, and a single candle at the bedside. The candle will burn for a time, its light flickering against the wall till your eyes grow heavy and the world drifts into darkness. Here, in this place, sleep will come like a tide, slow and certain. And if this moment in the hush of the healer's world has brought you peace, you may softly subscribe, so this path will always be waiting when you seek the garden again. The healer takes the lamp in one hand and leads you down a short corridor, its stones cool beneath your bare feet. The scent of lavender follows you, and by the time you reach the little cell, your eyes are already growing heavy. But the night is still young, and there is more to feel, more to hear, more to dream. The small guest cell is lit only by the glow of a beeswax candle. Its flame moves gently, as if it too breathes in time with the quiet air of the monastery. You notice the walls, smooth stone, cool to the touch, bearing the faint scent of centuries-old lime and wood smoke. In the corner, the narrow bed is neatly made, a simple wool blanket folded at its edge, and upon the pillow, a small bundle of dried lavender tied with thin twine. You sit upon the bed, feeling the firmness of the straw-stuffed mattress beneath you. It shifts slightly, releasing a dry, sweet scent, a scent that speaks of summer fields long past. The wool blanket is soft but heavy, its warmth waiting to cradle you. You run your fingertips along its edge, feeling the coarse weave, each thread spun by hand. From somewhere outside, the cloister fountain murmurs, its water a constant low lull, a sound without beginning or end. The candle's light paints slow, golden shapes upon the stone wall, shapes that sway and stretch as the flame moves. It feels almost alive, as though the light is weaving a quiet story of its own. In the Middle Ages, beeswax candles were precious, their scent clean, their light steady and long-lasting. They were often reserved for sacred spaces and special moments. Tonight, you are given such a candle, its pale honey fragrance mingling with the lavender nearby, both scents layering into the air like a soft quilt. You lie back now, the blanket drawn over you. The world beyond these walls feels impossibly far away. Here, the air is still, the night deep, and time no longer matters. Your breathing finds a slower rhythm. In and out. In and out. Like the gentle rocking of a small boat on a quiet river. The healer's footsteps pass once in the corridor outside. They are soft, slippered, fading quickly into the silence. And then, only the night remains. Your eyelids grow heavier, yet the candlelight keeps painting its slow shapes, and you watch them, feeling yourself drift. In the play of light and shadow, you imagine the lavender fields beyond the monastery walls, rows upon rows under a silver moon. The flowers swaying in the cool night wind. You can almost hear them, a faint dry whisper as their stems bend and lift, a sound that blends with the fountain's lullaby. In medieval times, sleep often came in two parts. First sleep and second sleep, with a gentle waking in between for prayer, reflection, or quiet work by the fire. Here in this place, you might wake in the middle of the night to sip warm herb tea, then slip easily into the second, deeper rest. You hear it now, not just the fountain, but the soft crackle of the candle wick, a sound so small It feels like it exists only for you. Somewhere far off, a night bird calls once, then again, its notes slow and low. The sound settles into the quiet, as though the garden itself has joined you in resting. The flame of the candle begins to grow softer in your vision. Its glow no longer sharp, but blurred, as if it is slowly sinking into the stone. Your mind follows it, not thinking, just feeling, just floating. And here, between waking and sleeping, you sense something gentle, as if the garden remembers you, as if the rosemary, sage, and lavender still hold the warmth of your presence among their leaves. They are with you now, in the scent that fills the cell, in the calm that wraps around your body, in the way the world has gone completely still. And if this quiet place has brought you rest, you may softly subscribe. So the path back to this candlelit cell will always be waiting for you, any night you choose to return. The candle burns low, its wax pooling into the shallow dish. The lavender at your pillow releases one last sigh of scent, and your eyes close fully. The first sleep begins. And in its embrace, you drift into the deep, still night of the monastery. You are not sure how long you've been asleep when your eyes open again. The candle has burned low, its flame now small and steady, a quiet star in the dim room. The air is cooler, and somewhere beyond your door, you hear the slow drip of water, the fountain, perhaps, or a thin trail of rain slipping from the cloister roof. Medieval first sleep to second sleep moment. It is the peaceful waking that many in the Middle Ages knew well. A gentle stirring between first sleep and second sleep. Not a waking to toil, but to sit quietly with the night, to listen to the earth breathe. You draw the blanket aside, the wool sliding away with a soft whisper. The stone beneath your bare feet feels cool, almost damp with the breath of midnight. You take the small oil lamp from the bedside shelf and light it with what remains of the candle. Its glow is warmer than the moonlight that spills faintly in through the narrow window. Opening the door, you step into the corridor. The air here smells faintly of rosemary. Perhaps from the healers drying bundles in the next room. Your steps are soft against the smooth flagstones, and the lamp's light bobs gently with your movement. Through a low archway, you enter the cloister walk. A long covered path surrounding a small square garden. The moon rests high now, casting silver light across the grass and the fountain at its center. The fountain's voice is louder here, not rushing, but falling in a steady, patient rhythm. Each drop seems to linger in the air before meeting the pool below with a soft plink. The scent of the garden at night is different. Cooler, the herbs breathing slowly after the warmth of day. Lavender leans heavily on its stem, and the rosemary stands dark, its needles catching threads of moonlight. At this hour in medieval monasteries, the grounds would be nearly silent. Only a few monks might be awake, keeping the night watch or tending to an ailing brother. The rest of the world outside the walls slept in darkness, their dreams drifting with the turn of the moon. You walk slowly along the cloister, each step matching your breath. The arches open to the night air, and you pause to rest your hand on the cool stone column, feeling the way it holds the memory of the day's warmth deep inside. You stop at the fountain, watching the water gather the moon's reflection. The ripples spread slowly, breaking and remaking the image over and over. You kneel, cupping your hands in the water. It is colder than you expect, and its freshness wakes your senses just enough to feel alive without breaking the spell of night. Somewhere in the shadows of the cloister walk, the healer appears, her gray cloak drawn close against the chill. She says nothing, but her eyes meet yours, and she smiles as if she knew you would be here. She places something into your hands, a small cloth pouch, light and fragrant. She leads you back toward her workroom, where the lamplight is golden and steady. From the pouch, she takes a pinch of dried herbs, lavender, a touch of chamomile, and a single sprig of mint. She drops them into a clay cup and pours steaming water from the kettle resting near the small hearth. The scent rises instantly, wrapping around you like a warm shawl. You hold the cup in both hands, its heat seeping into your skin. You sip slowly, the taste soft and layered, floral, sweet, and faintly green. The healer says that this tea is for second sleep, a deeper rest than the first, one that carries you far into the quietest hours of the night. When the tea is finished, you set the empty cup on the table. The healer takes your lamp and leads you back down the corridor. The little guest cell is just as you left it. Only now, the air feels warmer, as though it has been waiting for your return. You slide under the wool blanket again, your head sinking into the pillow beside the lavender bundle. The healer's footsteps fade, and the room is left in silence. The scent of herbs lingers in your breath, and the warmth from the tea glows low within you. Your eyes close without effort. There is no thought now, only the rhythm of your breathing and the way the night feels infinite in its stillness. The fountain's sound returns in your mind. Steady, endless, a song the garden has sung for centuries. And you begin to drift, not into dreams of places far away, but into dreams that feel as though they belong here. Woven into the stone, the herbs, the moonlight itself. And if you wish to walk these midnight cloisters again, you may softly subscribe, so this world will always wait for you, ready to open its gate whenever you need peace. Your breath deepens. The candle's last glow fades in your mind. The garden sleeps, and you are carried into the heart of the night. Sleep gathers around you now, not sudden, but like the slow pull of the tide. You are no longer sure if you are still in the guest cell, or if you have already stepped into another world entirely. Somewhere in the distance, a door, or perhaps a gate, opens with the faintest sigh of hinges. You walk through it without moving, and the air on the other side is warmer, sweeter. It is the garden of healing herbs, but not as you saw it in waking hours. The moon above is larger, its silver light pooling on the earth like water. The rows of rosemary, sage, and lavender are taller now, their leaves whispering in voices you can almost understand. Every herb glows faintly, as though holding a small ember deep within its stem. The air hums. Not loudly, but in a way that makes you feel as though the world is breathing with you. You walk barefoot along a narrow path, and the earth is soft, as if it remembers your steps from long ago. Each time you brush against a plant, its scent rises like a memory. Rosemary's sharp clarity, sage's deep earth, lavender's gentle sweetness. It feels as if these scents are not just in your nose, but in your mind, moving through thoughts you didn't know you held. At the far end of the garden, you see a stone archway covered in ivy. It is older than the monastery walls, its carvings worn until only faint patterns remain. A star here, a spiral there. In the Middle Ages, healers often believed certain symbols could protect a place from illness or misfortune. Here, those symbols seem to glow softly as though still guarding the garden even in your dreaming. You pass beneath the archway and find a fountain you do not remember seeing before. Its basin is carved from pale stone, the surface etched with vines and flowers that seem to sway gently, though they are only stone. Water flows from the mouth of a carved lion, not rushing, but in a smooth, endless ribbon. When you kneel beside it and look into the water, you see not your reflection, but a field of lavender stretching to the horizon. You dip your hands into the fountain, and the water is warm, warmer than the air around you. It slips through your fingers like silk, and when the drops fall back into the basin, they do not splash. They simply vanish into the surface, as though absorbed by the dream itself. The scent of the lavender field in the reflection rises all around you now, stronger, deeper, pulling you further inward. A breeze moves through the dream garden, and the sound it makes is like the turning of a page. You follow it past beds of herbs you do not know by name, but whose scents feel familiar in your bones. One has the crisp brightness of a winter morning, another the warm spice of a summer feast. It is as if the garden holds every season, every memory of comfort, woven together in one place. You reach a small wooden bench beneath a pear tree in bloom. The petals are white in the moonlight, and they drift slowly down into your lap. One touches your palm, you feel a wave of quiet run through your body. Not excitement, not surprise, just pure stillness. Long ago it was believed that dreams and gardens were gifts from the divine. Messages carried on the scent of flowers. In this dream, you understand that there is no message to read, no puzzle to solve. Only the act of being here, breathing slowly, letting the peace sink in. The bench is warm from the dream sunlight you cannot see. You lean back, feeling your body grow heavy, your thoughts slowing to single gentle images. Somewhere beyond the herbs, a single bell tolls once, low and soft. It echoes for a long time before fading completely. The lavender scent is all around you now, wrapping every part of your mind in a soft violet haze. And if this dream garden feels like a place you wish to return to, you may softly subscribe, so each time you seek rest, the path will open for you again. The petals continue to fall, the air remains warm. The sound of the fountain blends with the rhythm of your breath, and slowly, you are no longer sitting on the bench. You are weightless, floating in the quietest part of the night. The garden's air shimmers faintly now, as though you are standing inside a held breath. From beyond the rosemary rose, you see a figure moving slowly toward you. It is the healer. But here in the dream, her cloak is woven with threads of silver light, and her hair glows faintly, as if dusted with frost that does not melt. Her steps make no sound on the soft earth. When she reaches you, she does not speak. Instead, she tilts her head slightly, her eyes holding yours as if to say, "Come with me." She turns, and you follow, barefoot, past the lavender beds, past the stone archway, past every part of the garden you thought you knew. The air grows warmer, and the scents richer, a mingling of herbs, blossoms, and something older, something like the faint sweetness of parchment that has been kept safe for centuries. You come to a section of the wall overgrown with ivy. It looks solid. Yet when the healer lays her palm upon the stones, they shift soundlessly, revealing a narrow passage. In medieval tales, such hidden doors were said to protect sacred spaces, gardens where the rarest plants grew. Plants known only to those sworn to guard their secrets. The passage is just wide enough for one. The stone beneath your feet is smoother here, worn by fewer footsteps, and the air is cooler, like the inside of a chapel at dawn. A faint golden light glows ahead, and you step into it. Before you is a place unlike any you have seen. The ground is soft moss, scattered with tiny white flowers that seem to glow from within. A narrow stream flows through it, its water so clear it looks like moving glass. On either side grow herbs you do not recognize. Their leaves a deep silver green, their blooms opening and closing slowly as though breathing. The healer kneels beside one of these plants, cupping its leaves gently in her hands. When she releases them, the air fills with a scent so calming, your shoulders loosen without you willing them to. Some medieval healers believed there were plants that could only be found under certain moons, or in gardens, untouched by sunlight for years. They were said to heal not just the body, but the soul itself, restoring the kind of peace that could not be taken away. You feel now that this must be such a place, a sanctuary within a sanctuary. The healer moves slowly through the moss, selecting leaves, blossoms, and stems with the same quiet reverence she showed in the waking garden. Snip, snip. The sound is barely more than a whisper. Each plant releases its scent into the air, and the scents seem to weave together, a tapestry of calm layer upon layer. The stream's sound adds a soft undertone, not rushing, but a patient, endless trickle over smooth stones. When her basket is filled, the healer walks to the center of the moss clearing where a low stone basin rests. She lays the herbs within it and slowly pours water from the stream over them. The water turns pale green, then silver, and the air around you grows warmer. She gestures for you to cup your hands and drink. The taste is unlike anything you have known. Soft, floral, with a faint sweetness that lingers at the back of your throat. The moment you swallow, your breath deepens, and your mind feels as if it is opened a little wider. Every sound becomes softer, every shadow gentler, every moment longer. The healer takes your empty hands in hers, and for a heartbeat, you feel something like a pulse. Not hers, not yours, but the heartbeat of the garden itself. It is slow, steady, ancient. It moves through you, carrying away every restless thought, every lingering weight. She releases your hands and steps back, nodding toward the moss-covered ground. You lie down, the moss cool and soft beneath you. Above, the moon filters through unseen branches, casting a silver web of light over your face. The stream's voice blends with the night air, and the scent of the rare herbs curls around you like invisible silk. Your breathing slows again and again, till time itself feels distant. Space. And if this hidden garden feels like a place you would walk again, you may softly subscribe, so the way here will never be lost to you. Your eyes close in the dream, and the moss seems to rise just slightly, holding you in its quiet embrace. The healer's figure fades at the edge of vision, but you know she will be here whenever you return. The stream keeps its endless song, and you are carried deeper into the night. The moss beneath you is so soft you cannot tell where it ends and where you begin. It is as though the earth itself has shaped a cradle just for you. Above, the silver web of moonlight grows fainter, not because the moon is gone, but because your eyes are drifting closed inside the dream. You breathe in, and the scent of the rare herbs fills you with a stillness so complete. It feels like the night has paused just to keep you here. When your eyes open again, you are no longer lying in the hidden clearing. The moss has become the wool blanket of the guest cell, the soft rustle of leaves now the faint hiss of a candle flame. But something of the dream has followed you. The air still carries lavender's calm sweetness, and somewhere, you can still hear the low trickle of the dream stream, as if it is flowing beneath the stone floor. You sit up slowly, feeling no rush to move, only the gentle pull of wakefulness that asks nothing of you. The narrow window shows the faintest light of pre-dawn, the kind of light that brushes the sky with soft gray. Before the first hint of color arrives, the monastery is silent still. Even the fountain seems quieter, its voice wrapped in the hush of the early hour. In the Middle Ages, this was a sacred moment, the breath between night prayer and the day's first work. A time when the world was neither fully asleep nor fully awake. It was said that blessings lingered in this hour, carried in the cool air and in the slow, steady glow of beeswax candles. The healer appears at your door, just as she did in the dream. Her cloak is plain again, but her eyes still hold that same knowing light. In her hands, a small wooden tray, a clay cup of warm herb tea, and a slice of bread spread thin with honey. She sets it at your bedside without a word, then folds her hands in front of her. Her smile is calm, as if she already knows you have been somewhere few are allowed to go. You sip the tea, its flavor a perfect echo of the dream's water, though now there is a hint of rosemary in it, bright and clear. The bread is soft, and the honey carries the warmth of summer sun. The cup makes a gentle tap as you set it back on the tray. The honey leaves a faint sweetness on your lips. Your breathing has slowed again without you noticing. The healer steps back, bowing her head slightly, before she leaves you to the quiet of the morning. As you finish the last sip, you realize you still feel the moss beneath you, the warmth of the moonlight, the scent of the rare herbs. It is as though the garden, both waking and dreaming, has settled into your chest, becoming part of you. You know that when you leave this place, it will go with you. You lie back down not because you are tired, but because this hour invites it. The pillow welcomes your head, and the blanket folds softly over your body. The candle's light is dimmer now, its flame leaning slightly, ready to rest as well. Your breathing deepens once more, in and out, in and out. The world narrows to the rhythm of your breath, the faint warmth in your chest, and the weightless drift of the last waking thoughts. Somewhere in the quiet, you hear the healer's voice, not speaking words, just humming the same tune she sang among the rosemary and sage. The sound grows softer till it becomes part of the silence. In this deepest second sleep, there are no dreams to follow, no images to hold. Only the sense of being carried, as though on calm water, with the faint scent of herbs in the air. This is the rest that reaches all the way through you, the kind that lingers even after waking. And if this journey through the waking garden and the dream within it has brought you peace, you may softly subscribe. So the gate to this place will always be open whenever you wish to return. Outside, the first pale light touches the garden walls. The bees still sleep, the herbs hold their scent close, and the monastery remains wrapped in the last threads of night. You are resting in its heart. The sky has begun to pale when your eyes open again. You are not startled awake. Instead, it is as though the light itself has gently lifted your eyelids. The air in the guest cell is cool, and the candle has burned completely down, leaving only a small puddle of golden wax in its dish. Outside the narrow window, a faint blush of pink touches the horizon, stretched slowly beneath the wool blanket, feeling the warmth you've gathered through the night. Your body feels different now, lighter, as though every weight has been quietly set down while you slept. The scents of rosemary and lavender still linger, not as strong as before, but as a soft memory that clings to the air. Somewhere far away, you hear a bell toll once, low and resonant, calling the monks to their first prayers of the day. You rise, your bare feet meeting the cool stone floor again. The guest cell door opens with a gentle creak, and the corridor beyond is touched by the first silver of dawn. The healer is waiting at the far end, a basket in her hands once more. When she sees you, she smiles and motions for you to follow her out into the garden. The gate opens easily now, as though it has learned to welcome you. Inside, the garden of healing herbs is bathed in morning light, not yet bright, but soft, as if the sun is brushing each plant awake with careful hands. Dew clings to the rosemary needles, turning them into tiny strings of glass. Sage leaves hold perfect droplets at their edges, and the lavender sways lightly, greeting the day with a slow movement that feels like a nod. In medieval herb gardens, morning was the time for gathering the day's remedies. Plants were said to be most potent after the dew had kissed them, but before the sun had grown too strong. The healer moves through the rows with her usual unhurried steps, snipping a few stems here, pausing to touch the earth there. You follow her without speaking, listening instead to the soft symphony of morning. The hum of bees waking in their hives, the faint cooing of doves in the cloister arches, the whisper of leaves shifting in the breeze. Your own breathing falls into rhythm with these sounds, in and out, slow, steady, easy. She pauses at a rosemary bush, hands you a sprig, and motions for you to hold it beneath your nose. The scent is sharper in the morning, bright and cleansing, and it seems to clear the last traces of sleep from your mind. Next, she offers a small lavender bloom. Its sweetness is calmer now, almost shy, but still carrying the same peace it held in the night. Your fingertips brush the tiny flowers, and you feel the delicate texture, a softness so fine it almost disappears under your touch. When you breathe in again, the scent feels like an echo from your dreams. The healer watches you, her eyes gentle, as though she knows that in this moment, you are holding both the garden and the dream inside you. When the basket is full, she leads you back to the gate. Before you step through, she takes a small bundle of herbs from the basket, rosemary, sage, and lavender, tied together with twine, and presses it into your hands. "This," she says softly, "is for when you need to remember the stillness." Her voice is low, almost like the last line of a prayer. You step outside the garden, and the wooden gate closes behind you with a sound that is not final, simply promises. You may return. The morning air beyond the walls feels brighter, the sounds sharper, yet there is no rush. You carry the calm with you, woven into your breath, settled deep in your chest, if you wish to walk these morning paths again. To hear the fountain's voice and breathe the herb's gentle scents, you may softly subscribe. So the way here will always be open to you no matter how far you travel. The healer's figure fades behind the wall, and the day begins around you. But in your mind, the garden is still there, quiet, patient, waiting for your next step through its gate. The road beyond the monastery is quiet. It curves away slowly, its stones still cool from the night. You walk without hurry, the small bundle of rosemary, sage, and lavender resting easily in your hands. Every few steps, the breeze catches the herbs and lifts their scent toward you.
Ow.
Each breath feels like a reminder. You are still connected to the garden, even here. The dream, the midnight cloister, the hidden moss clearing, they do not fade. Instead, they settle inside you like seeds placed gently in the soil. You understand that they will grow quietly over time, not with petals or stems, but with moments of calm that appear whenever you need them. You pass under a line of tall trees. Their branches sway just enough to let small pools of sunlight fall across your path. The patterns shift with each step. Slow, easy, never the same twice. Somewhere above, a lark begins to sing. The sound is light and clear, rising gently into the cool morning air. In the Middle Ages, travelers often carried small pouches of herbs to keep their spirits steady on long journeys. Rosemary for courage, sage for wisdom, lavender for peace of mind. You realize that in carrying your bundle, you are part of that long tradition. A quiet traveler moving forward with the comfort of the earth in hand. The sound of your steps on the path is steady, soft, gentle counterpoint to the distant call of the lark. Your fingers loosen slightly around the herbs, and the twine brushes against your skin. The texture is rough but familiar, the kind of touch that anchors you in the present moment. You bring the bundle closer to your face for a breath. The scent moves through you like the slow warmth of the sun rising over the hills. The road begins to blur at the edges of your awareness. You no longer need to see where you are going, you are simply moving, and the world moves with you. Your breath deepens, your shoulders remain loose, and the steady rhythm of your heartbeat becomes the only sound you truly hear. The memory of the garden grows more vivid now. Not the waking one, but the dream garden. You see again the glowing herbs, the silver-lit moss, the quiet stream flowing endlessly. You realize that this place is yours to visit whenever you choose. All you need is to close your eyes, to breathe deeply, and to remember. Somewhere far behind, the monastery bell tolls again, not calling you back, but sending you onward with its low, steady voice. You feel no separation between the waking world and the dream one now. They have woven together, thread by thread, until they are one cloth. The garden is no longer only within the monastery walls, it is within you. The rosemary rests in your lungs, the sage in your mind, the lavender in your heartbeat. Every step you take is a step within the garden's paths, even if the earth beneath you is different. And if this journey has left a quiet space in your heart, you may softly subscribe, so whenever you long for this path again, you will find the gate already open. The morning sun grows warmer on your face. The lark's song drifts away into the open sky. The path continues forward, but there is no hurry, because the peace you sought is already here, walking with you. The road ahead narrows until it feels less like a path and more like a ribbon of light unfolding just for you. Each step you take feels lighter, as if the earth has learned your rhythm and now moves to meet you. The warmth of the morning sun settles across your shoulders, not heavy, but like the hand of a friend resting there, steady, comforting, unhurried. The trees at the edge of your sight blur, their shapes melting into one another until they are simply color and shadow. The sound of your own breath is the only true anchor now, a slow tide that drifts in and drifts out. Somewhere very faintly you think you hear the healer's hum again, comes and goes, like a memory carried on the breeze. The rosemary, sage, and lavender bundle in your hands feels warmer than before. You lift it once more to your face, breathing in deeply, and as you do, the world around you shifts. You are back in the garden, not the waking one, not the dream one, but something between, a place where time doesn't move, where light is soft from every direction, and the air tastes faintly of both morning dew and candle flame. You walk a few steps, but there is no gate here, no wall, no end. The paths wind forever, inviting but never urgent. The healer is nowhere to be seen, yet you feel her presence as clearly as if she were walking beside you. Your breath slows further, in and out. Your heartbeat is steady, each beat a soft drum in the distance. The air here wraps around you the way the wool blanket did in the guest cell, a quiet cocoon, closing out the noise of the world. The fountain's voice joins your breath now, its endless trickle filling the spaces between each inhale and each exhale. With every sound, you sink deeper, lighter, slower. The herb scent lingers in your chest. Your eyelids grow heavier, though they may already be closed. The garden begins to dim, not vanish, just soften into a warm, comfortable blur. You feel yourself lying down again, whether on moss or in the small guest bed, it doesn't matter. The feeling is the same, weightless, safe, completely at rest. Your last thought before the stillness takes over is that the garden will always be here, whether you walk its rows in waking life, wander them in dreams, or simply hold the memory in your breath. And if you ever wish to begin this walk again, to find the gate waiting quietly for you, you may softly subscribe so I can guide you back, step by step, whenever you seek this peace. Now there is no more path to follow, no sound but your breath, no movement but the slow rise and fall of your chest. The herbs are in your hands, the garden is in your mind, the calm is in your heart. Sleep now, deeply, easily, without end. The road beyond the monastery's gate is still fresh in your mind, but the thought of leaving drifts away like morning mist. You pause, turning back toward the walls that have become, in only a night, as familiar as your own breath. The wooden gate stands before you again. Its surface is worn, the grain darkened by time and weather. You lift your hand and rest it against the wood. It is cool to the touch, yet there's a warmth beneath, a quiet pulse, as though the garden on the other side is alive, waiting. The latch yields without resistance. The sound is gentle, a soft metallic sigh. You step inside, the air changes instantly, cool, crisp from the morning beyond the wall, now warming with the scent of rosemary waking in the sun. The garden is not as you left it in the dawn's first blush. It is shifted, just slightly, as though every leaf has stretched toward the light. Dew glistens on the rosemary needles, each drop catching a shard of gold from the early sun. The lavender sways lightly, its blooms bending under the weight of tiny droplets. Sage leaves, broad and soft, hold small pools of water at their centers, as if offering them to the day. Near the far edge of the rosemary bed, the healer kneels. Her cloak is pulled close against the morning chill, and the hood shadows her face. Yet when she glances up at you, you see the same quiet knowing in her eyes that you saw under the silver light of the hidden moss clearing. She does not ask where you went after leaving. Perhaps she already knows. Her hands move with deliberate care, brushing the dew from the rosemary stems. She gathers the drops into her palm, letting them run into a small clay bowl at her side. She gestures for you to come closer. When you kneel beside her, the cool green scent of rosemary rises around you. In the Middle Ages, dew was believed to carry healing properties. Some healers rose before the sun to sweep linen across the grass and leaves, catching each drop for tinctures, salves, and blessings over the sick. The healer dips a strip of linen into the bowl, lifting it slowly, letting the fabric darken as it drinks in the water. Then she offers it to you. You bring it to your face. The dew's coolness kisses your skin, and the scent is unlike anything else. Crisp and bright, yet softened by the warmth of the morning air. It smells of both night and day, of endings and beginnings layered together. The healer smiles faintly, as though she's pleased you can feel what she feels. She rises, motioning for you to follow her along a path you had not noticed before. It curves behind the rosemary beds, lined with low wooden edging worn smooth by years of hands brushing past. The plants here are taller, with leaves curling slightly at their edges. Their colors are deeper, greens that shade into silver, purples dark as dusk. A breeze stirs them, releasing a sharper scent, like rain striking stone after a long dry spell. You pause beside one tall stalk, its narrow leaves beaded with dew. When you touch it lightly, the scent rushes up, a bold, almost peppery fragrance that lingers on your fingertips. The healer says nothing, but her eyes watch you closely, as though noting how the plant has chosen to greet you. The path ends at a small wooden bench, set beneath an arch of woven willow branches. The bench is smooth from years of use, and still cool from the night. You sit, feeling the wood beneath you, your hands resting loosely in your lap. The garden sounds surround you, the hum of bees somewhere near the lavender, the faint trickle of the fountain beyond the herbs, the whisper of leaves shifting in the soft breeze. Your breath begins to match these rhythms, slowing, settling, finding the same unhurried pace as the garden itself. The healer joins you, placing the clay bowl of dew between you on the bench. She dips her fingers into it and touches the water to her own forehead, then to yours. The coolness lingers on your skin, a reminder that even here, in a place of warmth and scent, the night still leaves its blessings for the morning to gather. She tells you in a voice barely above a whisper, that the garden is never the same twice. Each day, each hour, it changes. And the healer's work is to notice, to listen, to honor what it offers in each moment. You think of the night before, the dream garden with its glowing herbs, the silver moss clearing, the hidden stream, and you realize those places too are always changing, yet they will always know your step. The bench is warm now where you sit, the willow arch above casting soft patterns of light and shadow on the ground. You close your eyes for a moment, and in the darkness behind them, you can still see the hidden archway from your dream, the way it opened for you at the healer's touch. When you open your eyes, the morning garden waits quietly before you, different yet the same. The healer lifts the bowl of dew and carries it back along the path. Follow her, the scents shifting as you pass each bed of herbs. Rosemary brightens the air, sage deepens it, lavender softens it. You return to the main garden, where the fountain's voice greets you like an old friend. Its trickle is steady, unbroken, as if it has been speaking the same sentence for centuries. The healer sets the bowl on the fountain's edge, letting the remaining dew water join the constant flow. It ripples outward, catching the light before disappearing into the pool. She turns to you and nods, a gesture that feels like a welcome and a promise all at once. And if you wish to walk the waking paths as often as the dream ones, you may softly subscribe, so I can meet you here whenever the morning is kind. The garden holds you in its calm, and you feel no rush to leave. The day may be waiting, but so is the stillness, rooted deep in the earth beneath your feet. The healer walks ahead of you now, her steps light on the flagstones that wind away from the fountain. You follow, passing under a small stone arch set into the side of the monastery wall. The air shifts as you step through, the scent of rosemary and sage fading, replaced by something warmer, richer, like a quiet promise of comfort waiting just ahead. You are in a long, low corridor. Its stone floor is worn smooth, and along one wall, narrow windows let in slivers of morning light. The light spills across the floor in golden stripes, catching the faint dust motes that drift lazily through the air. Your footsteps sound softer here, as though the stones have learned how to muffle the noise. The corridor ends in a wide wooden door, its surface marked by the touch of many hands over the years. The healer pushes it open, and a wave of warmth greets you, like stepping into the embrace of the sun. You are in the monastery kitchen. The first thing you notice is the oven, a great clay dome set into the far wall, its mouth glowing faintly with the steady heat of banked embers. The smell of baking bread fills the air, layered with the delicate thread of fresh herbs. A long wooden table stands in the center of the room, its surface dusted with flour. On one end, loaves sit beneath linen cloths, rising slowly in the warm air. On the other, small clay jars rest in neat rows, each labeled in the careful, rounded script of the monks. You move closer to the table. The healer pulls back one of the linen cloths, revealing a pale round of dough, smooth and soft. She takes a sprig of rosemary from her basket, pinches the leaves free, and scatters them gently over the dough. In the Middle Ages, bread was often flavored with rosemary or sage, not only for taste, but for their supposed healing properties. It was believed rosemary could lift the spirit, and sage could guard against sickness. The healer tears a small piece of already baked bread from a cooling loaf and offers it to you. It is still warm in your hand, the crust firm, but not hard. You bite into it, and the rosemary's sharp, fragrant taste blooms against the sweetness of the dough. It is simple, and yet more satisfying than any feast. At the far end of the table, a small iron pot simmers over a low fire. You can hear it gently bubbling, and the scent that rises from it is layered. Thyme, garlic, a faint sweetness that might be honey. The healer stirs it slowly with a wooden spoon. Each turn of her hand is unhurried, as though the pot will wait for her pace no matter how slow it is. She pours a ladleful into a small bowl and sets it in front of you on the table. The steam curls upward, warm against your face. You lift the spoon and taste. The flavors are soft but deep, as though the herbs have been coaxed, not forced to give their best. You sit in the kitchen's warmth. The sound of the oven's faint crackle and the occasional tap of the spoon against the pot blending into a rhythm as steady as a heartbeat.
Ow.
The healer begins to work beside you, taking a small mortar and pestle from the shelf. She pours in dried lavender blooms, pale purple against the stone. The pestle moves in slow circles, crushing the flowers into a fine powder. The scent rises with each turn. Sweet, calming, slipping into the air until it is part of the kitchen itself. She tips the lavender into a small jar, then seals it with a piece of waxed cloth tied neatly in place. Her movements are quiet, almost ceremonial. You realize that here, even the smallest task is done with the same care as tending the rarest plant in the hidden garden. You take another bite of bread, the crust giving way with a gentle crunch. The taste and warmth settle into you until it feels as though the kitchen's heat has wrapped itself around your chest. You lean back slightly, eyes half closing. The healer glances at you, her lips curving into a small smile, as if she has seen many guests lulled by this room before, rising slowly in the warm air. On the other, small clay jars rest in neat rows, each labeled in the careful rounded script of the monks. You move closer to the table. The healer pulls back one of the linen cloths, revealing a pale round of dough, smooth and soft. She takes a sprig of rosemary from her basket, pinches the leaves free, and scatters them gently over the dough. In the Middle Ages, bread was often flavored with rosemary or sage, not only for taste, but for their supposed healing properties. It was believed rosemary could lift the spirit, and sage could guard against sickness. The healer tears a small piece of already baked bread from a cooling loaf and offers it to you. It is still warm in your hand, the crust firm, but not hard. You bite into it, and the rosemary's sharp, fragrant taste blooms against the sweetness of the dough. It is simple, and yet more satisfying than any feast. At the far end of the table, a small iron pot simmers over a low fire. You can hear it gently bubbling, and the scent that rises from it is layered. Thyme, garlic, a faint sweetness that might be honey. The healer stirs it slowly with a wooden spoon. Each turn of her hand is unhurried, as though the pot will wait for her pace no matter how slow it is. She pours a ladleful into a small bowl and sets it in front of you on the table. The steam curls upward, warm against your face. You lift the spoon and taste. The flavors are soft but deep, as though the herbs have been coaxed, not forced to give their best. You sit in the kitchen's warmth. The sound of the oven's faint crackle and the occasional tap of the spoon against the pot blending into a rhythm as steady as a heartbeat.
Ow.
The healer begins to work beside you, taking a small mortar and pestle from the shelf. She pours in dried lavender blooms, pale purple against the stone. The pestle moves in slow circles, crushing the flowers into a fine powder. The scent rises with each turn. Sweet, calming, slipping into the air until it is part of the kitchen itself. She tips the lavender into a small jar, then seals it with a piece of waxed cloth tied neatly in place. Her movements are quiet, almost ceremonial. You realize that here, even the smallest task is done with the same care as tending the rarest plant in the hidden garden. You take another bite of bread, the crust giving way with a gentle crunch. The taste and warmth settle into you until it feels as though the kitchen's heat has wrapped itself around your chest. You lean back slightly, eyes half closing. The healer glances at you, her lips curving into a small smile, as if she has seen many guests lulled by this room before. The morning light grows stronger outside the windows, but in here, time moves differently. The kitchen's air feels slow, thick with the scents of bread, herbs, and wood smoke. Somewhere beyond the door, you think you hear the faint trickle of the cloister fountain. It is a reminder, the garden is never far away, even when you cannot see it. The healer finishes tying the last jar and sets it aside. She comes to stand beside you, her hand resting lightly on the back of the bench. Her eyes hold that same look you saw in the garden, a mixture of welcome and gentle watchfulness. She does not speak, but in her silence you hear something like an invitation. Stay as long as you need. You breathe in once more, bread, rosemary, lavender, the soft heat of the oven. Each scent feels like a thread, and together they weave a blanket you could wrap around yourself forever. And if this warmth, this hearth, this table calls to you again, you may softly subscribe. So we can meet here whenever you wish. Bread fresh from the oven, tea steaming in our hands, and the garden only a few steps away. The healer moves back to the table, but you remain where you are, watching the slow, careful rhythm of her work. The kitchen's glow holds you in place, and for a long moment, feels as though you are not a visitor here at all, but someone returning to a place they have always known. The kitchen's warmth lingers on your skin as you step back into the corridor. Behind you, the hush of the oven settles into a low, steady glow. Ahead, the stones feel cooler, the air lighter, as if the monastery itself is inhaling. The healer walks beside you without speaking, her basket cradled in the crook of her arm. When the passage bends, you catch a thread of scent that is not bread, not lavender, but something darker, oak and iron, and, before the door appears, what room waits at the end? It is the scriptorium. The healer presses the latch, and the door yields with a tender creak. Inside, light pools along angled desks like syrup poured slowly over wood. Narrow windows face the morning, and beams of pale gold fall through dust motes that drift and turn with saintly patience. Beeswax candles keep their small suns steady atop iron holders, their flames unshaken by the quiet air. You breathe in. The smell is layered calfskin vellum warmed by light, a faint sweetness of gum arabic, the woody tang of quills, and the shadowy depth of oak gall ink. A monk at the far desk looks up and nods, then returns to his page. His quill moves with a whispering scratch stroke. Lift. Stroke so soft it feels as if the page is listening. The healer leads you to an empty desk by the window. The wood is worn smooth where hands have rested for years. Beside the slanted surface lies a small knife for trimming quills, a pumice stone wrapped in linen, and a shallow dish where ink sits like a captured knight. The healer touches the vellum set out on the desk. Prepared, her eyes seem to say, though her lips do not move. You run your fingertips lightly across the surface. It is cool, silken, faintly alive with the memory of the creature it once was. You notice tiny ruled lines, pale and even, guiding the page like strings guide a harp. At the top margin, there are minute pinpricks, evidence of the ruling done earlier with an awl, a map traced in prudence and patience. Oak gall ink, the monk once told you, begins with galls, small knotted growths on oak leaves, ground and steeped with rainwater. Iron salts and gum arabic join the brew, and the result, when touched to skin of calf or goat, darkens as it meets the air, as sure as evening follows day. Parchment is readied with pounce-powdered chalk or cuttlefish bone, then smoothed with pumice until the surface holds both ink and breath with equal gentleness. The healer removes 3 small sprigs from her basket, rosemary, sage, and lavender, and sets them at the top of the desk. Quiet heraldry. Their scents thread into the room's cooler perfume of ink and candle. The monk at the far desk is painting a border, a vine that curls like a whispered thought around the margin. Where it blossoms, you see familiar shapes. The slender needles of Rosmarinus officinalis, the velvety oval of Salvia officinalis, the small purple spires of Levangula angustifolia. The garden you walked now flowers on the page. He lifts a brush from a shell palette. The blue that tips its hairs is rich, deep as a midnight well. Lapis ground to dust, bound with egg and honey laid gently along the vine. Where the first letter of a chapter rises, he touches a wafer of gold leaf, breathes softly, and it bows to the gesso beneath, shining like a sunrise held still. Time loosens here. You listen to the music of the work. The small throat clears of pages turned, the quiet waiting of a knife as a quill's nib is shaped, the softest pat of a blotting cloth lifted from newly set ink. Candles tick as tiny drops form and beat at their rims. A robe brushes stone. A fly measures a square of sunlight. The healer opens a manuscript on the desk beside you. It is an herbal, the kind you sensed in the garden and half saw in the dream. The script is rounded, confident. The Latin, a river that does not rush. Marginal notes dance in smaller hands, added years later, as if the book keeps a conversation across centuries. You recognize words even if your tongue does not. Hortus medicus, physic garden. Beneath a painted lavender, someone has written that a satchel filled with flowers, laid near the pillow, comforts the heart and draws out restless thoughts. You feel the tug of memory of the guest cell's beeswax candle, of the lavender bundle tied with twine, of the dream's moss that lifted to hold your weight. The healer turns a page. Sage illustrated in 3 ages. Seedling midsummer abundance, winter pressed flat by snow. A note in red rubrication marks a remedy for fever, not as command but as blessing. Rosemary follows, crowned by a story. That memory is strengthened by its perfume. That students carried sprigs behind their ears during study. The monk approaches with a nod and lays a quill on your desk, a feather cut clean nib split just so. He dips it in the ink dish, and with a slow flourish draws a single line near the top of your page. The scratch is a syllable you can hear in your bones. He gestures, inviting you to try. You lower the quill. The vellum welcomes the touch. Stroke, lift, stroke. Your breath falls into its rhythm. Inhale as the quill rises. Exhale as it lays the ink down. The line you make is simple, but it is steady. Beside you, the healer's hand rests lightly on the desk, the weight of her palm grounding you like a stone set in a stream. Sometimes, they say, a page is scraped and used again. The old text ghosting beneath the new, the past never fully gone, only softened. In this room, patience is the true instrument. Words are not hurried here. They are grown, like herbs nurtured under seasons of care. The healer withdraws a small sachet from her cloak, a thin square of linen, stitched around the edges. She places a few grains of crushed lavender inside, then a single rosemary needle, then one velvety sage leaf folded twice. With a length of thread, she seals the edge and presses the sachet flat between two leaves of a small book. A bookmark for the breath, her look suggests. Place it where you wish to return. You slip the linen square into the Herbal at a chapter whose opening letter is lifted with gold. The sachet warms under your finger. The perfume it releases is faint, but its path to your chest is certain. At another desk, a younger scribe rubs pumice gently along a fresh sheet. The sound is like distant sand over stone. The page a small shore on which letters will soon arrive. He smiles when he notices you listening, and, as if to share the calm, sets the stone down, opens his palm, lets you feel its smooth, chalky face. When you return it, you do so slowly, as if the stone itself were fragile sleep. The monk with the lapis returns to his border, and you watch the blue deepen where water gathers in tiny pools along the curve of a leaf. He lifts the page and tilts it just so, letting the light settle into the pigment. It gleams, then quiets. As the fountain, you think, remembering the garden's voice, endless, patient, never asking more of time than a single falling drop. Minutes or hours, who could tell, gather like quiet birds on a branch. Your breathing is the metronome of the scriptorium now, steady and slow. You sense the garden through the stone. Rosemary bright as thought, sage warm as prayer, lavender soft as a closing eye. On the page, the same plants stand for those who will never walk the path with bare feet or feel dew through linen. Here, ink is the garden's way of traveling. The healer closes the Herbal with a motion so gentle, the page barely knows it is turned. She ties your little sachet into the binding ribbon, so it will rest where you left it, ready to open again to the place your breath remembers. She looks to you, then to the door. Shall we carry this calm to the next room, too? The hum of the scriptorium lingers in your chest. The scratch of quill becoming the hush of your blood moving, the candle's flame becoming the warmth behind your eyes. You rise. The bench sighs lightly under the shift of your weight. As you pass the monk's desk, he inclines his head once, gold leaf catching the light in a scent. And if you wish to walk again through the halls where ink remembers the garden, you may softly subscribe, so I can guide you back to the words that still breathe. You return to the corridor with the healer, and the door settles closed behind you. The quiet within remaining like a page turned but not finished waiting. The corridor beyond the scriptorium is cooler, its air touched with the faint breath of stone that has known centuries. You walk beside the healer, the sound of your steps softened by the worn floor, each slab holding the memory of countless feet that have passed this way before. Somewhere ahead, a new sound reaches you. Not the steady voice of the fountain, or the low hum of bees in the garden, but the faint shuffle of sandaled feet, the whisper of fabric brushing along stone. You step out into the cloister walk. The change in the air is immediate. Open, brighter, edged with the scent of the sun-warmed grass in the quadrangle. The cloister is a covered walkway, its arches framing the green square at its heart. The pillars stand in even rhythm, casting soft, repeating shadows along the floor. The healer slows her pace, and you fall into step beside her. In the center of the quadrangle stands the fountain. You have heard it from afar many times, its constant trickle a thread that has sewn itself quietly into your memory. In the daylight, the basin gleams under the sun. The water spills from a central spout carved in the likeness of a lion's head, its mane worn smooth by the centuries of falling water. In the Middle Ages, the cloister was more than a walkway. It was a place for contemplation, for reading, for moving between the monastery spaces, without stepping into the outside world. Its square form, enclosing a garden or green, was said to reflect the ordered nature of the heavens. You and the healer walked the length of one side, the garden's green filling your vision through the open arches. On the grass, a few young novices bend over herb beds. Not the medicinal plots, but smaller, decorative plantings of marigold and chamomile, bright faces lifted to the sun. The scent is lighter here, floral and clean, carried on the faintest breeze. The healer leads you to a stone bench set into one corner of the cloister. It is smooth, its surface polished not by tools, but by the countless hours of sitting and rising of those who came before. You sit. The air is warm against your face, but the stone under your hands is cool. The fountain's voice drifts through the arches, blending with the occasional call of a dove from the roofline above. The healer reaches into her basket and removes a small bundle. Lavender stems tied with a single loop of red thread. She sets it on the bench between you, and as the sunlight touches it, the flowers release a burst of scent into the air. It is the same lavender that lay at your pillow in the guest cell, the same that perfumed the hidden garden in your dream. You realize now that it has been following you, woven into the air in every space you've entered here. The healer takes a small needle from a leather pouch threaded already with pale linen. She begins to stitch a new sachet from a square of cloth. The needle passes through the fabric with a faint whisk, then back again with a soft pull. Her fingers work without hurry, each stitch as even as the last. When the sachet is half finished, she adds to it a pinch of dried rosemary, a folded sage leaf, and several small lavender buds. The scent rises immediately, bright, grounding, calming, as if the three herbs know one another well and are pleased to be reunited. She ties the sachet closed with a knot so small you barely see it. Then she presses it into your hands. The fabric is warm from her touch, and the weight of the herbs inside shifts slightly as you hold it. You breathe in deeply, and for a moment, the cloister fades. You are back in the garden, fountain before you, the healer's humming just beyond your shoulder. When you open your eyes, the cloister arches stand steady in the midday light. The fountain continues its endless work. A novice laughs softly somewhere near the far corner, the sound quickly swallowed by the open air. The healer rises, and you stand with her. You walk together along the next side of the square, the sachet still warm in your hand. At the halfway point, she pauses to look out at the grass. The light is different now, not the pale gold of morning, but a deeper, more certain brightness. Shadows shorten. The breeze carries the faint scent of baking bread from the kitchen, mingled with the sharper tang of herbs warmed by the sun. You think of the scriptorium's calm, the herbal pages painted in blue and gold. You think of the guest cell's beeswax candle and the midnight wander through the cloister's moonlit paths. It all feels connected. Each space a part of the same breath, each moment a step along the same slow path. The healer turns to you and speaks for the first time today, her voice low and even. The garden is not only in the garden. Her words settle in your mind like a stone dropped into still water, sending out quiet ripples. You understand? The calm you felt in the herb beds, in the hidden moss clearing, in the scriptorium's patient air. It is all the same calm. It travels with you, even beyond the walls. The healer leads you toward the far arch, where the walkway narrows into a shaded passage. You step into the coolness, leaving the open sunlight behind. The air here is quieter still, the sounds softened, as if the stones themselves are keeping your steps to a whisper. The sachet in your hand seems to grow lighter. You realize it doesn't matter whether you hold it or not. Its scent, its stillness is already part of you. And if you wish to walk these cloister paths again, to feel the fountain's voice beside you and the lavender in your hand, you may softly subscribe, so the arches will always be waiting whenever you return. You follow the healer into the shadowed hall, knowing it will open into another space, another moment where the garden lives in a different form. The air is cool on your face, but you carry the warmth of the sunlit cloister inside you. The shaded hall you entered from the cloister is narrow, ceiling low enough that the warm smell of sun-baked stone still clings here. Your footsteps sound softer, as though the hallway is holding its breath. Carrying you somewhere, it wishes you to see without hurry. At the end, the healer pauses by a small wooden door. Its iron handle is dark with age, shaped like a simple loop. She rests her hand on it for a moment, then pushes it open. And a different kind of light spills in. Golden angled, the late afternoon sun leaning low through tall arched windows. The space you step into is quiet, yet the air feels expectant. Stone steps spiral upward to your left, worn into shallow curves by centuries of ascent. The healer begins to climb, her cloak brushing the wall with a faint whisper. You follow, one hand on the central column of stone. It is cool, but warmer near the edges where the light catches dust motes drifting lazily through the stairwell. The climb is steady, the steps turning so that the view changes little by little. First stone, then glimpses of the cloister roof, then the far garden wall. The sound of the fountain grows faint, its constant thread replaced by something else, the low, resonant hum of bronze above. When you emerge at the top, the air is cooler, moving freely through open arches in the bell tower's walls. Here, the world feels wider, the garden spreads far below. Its neat rows of herbs, now small patches of green and silver. Beyond the walls, fields ripple under the wind, and further still, the distant blue of the hills rests against the sky. Medieval fact: bells and the hours. In medieval monasteries, bells marked the rhythm of the day. Matins in the dark hours before dawn, lauds at sunrise, prime, terce, sext, none. And now, as the sun leans toward evening, vespers, the prayer at day's close. The bells did not simply mark time, they called both the monks and the surrounding villagers into the shared breath of the hours. The bell above you hangs on a thick beam of dark oak, its surface a patchwork of age and care. Faint inscriptions ring its curve, letters and symbols that catch the last light of the day. The healer places her hand on the bell's cool metal, and you notice the way her breathing slows, matching the stillness before the sound. She does not pull the rope herself. That task belongs to a novice who soon appears, bowing to her before taking his place. When the rope is drawn, the bell moves with a slow, weighty grace. Its first note blooms like warm light filling a room. The sound is not only heard, it settles into your chest, a deep hum that threads through bone and breath alike. The second note follows, slightly higher, its echo carrying far over the fields. The rhythm is steady, unhurried, each strike of the clapper allowing the note to fade completely before the next begins. You close your eyes. The bell's voice becomes the whole world. With each sound, images rise. The fountain's ripples in moonlight, the lavender field in your dream, the quiet blue border painted in the scriptorium, they blend, not as separate memories, but as pieces of one long moment that began the instant you entered the garden. When the final note comes, its echo lingers, spilling into the open sky until the air grows still again. For a long time, no one speaks. The healer turns to you, her expression calm, as though she, too, has been somewhere far away and is only just returning. The wind moves gently through the tower's arches, ruffling the hem of her cloak. A dove flutters to the beam above the bell, its feathers making a soft shuff-shuff as it settles. Somewhere below, the faint rustle of leaves answers, as though the garden itself has heard the bell's call. The healer walks to the edge of the tower's open arch. She rests her hands on the stone ledge and you join her. From here, you see the hidden garden's wall, ivy thick along its top. The memory of stepping through the dream's archway into the moss clearing touches you again. So vivid it feels only a breath away. The healer seems to notice your gaze. Some gates, she says softly, are not meant to be passed through only once. She turns toward the stairs, and you follow her down. The sound of your steps now blends with the faint memory of the bell, as if the tower keeps its own echo inside its spiral. At the base, the air is warmer again, carrying the scent of herbs drying somewhere nearby. You'll realize that even here, at the meeting of stone and sound, the garden has left its mark. As you step back into the cloister walk, the sun is lower, its light stretched long across the grass. The novices have gone. Chamomile and marigold rest in their quiet rows. A single bee drifts past, its hum small but certain. The healer pauses by a pillar, looking toward the fountain. You follow her gaze, watching the water catch the light and turn it into soft silver as it falls. Soft channel subscription nudge. And if you wish to hear these bells again, to feel their voice in your chest, and see the garden from above, you may softly subscribe, so the tower will always be ready to lift you into the quiet sky. The healer walks on, and you with her, knowing the day is turning toward its close, and that the night, when it comes, will carry the same calm as the morning, the same promise as the dream. The last warmth of the sun brushes your cheek as you leave the cloister's open walk. The healer guides you toward a shadowed archway. You have not yet passed through. Stone is darker, the edges softened by time, and the space beyond is narrower than any you've walked today. Here, the air changes. Still cool, yet touched with a faint, unfamiliar scent. Something like damp leaves, but threaded with sweetness. Right! The corridor curves almost immediately, its walls leaning slightly inward, as though they wish to whisper to one another across your path. Your footfalls echo faintly, not the deep, full echo of the bell tower, but a thinner, quicker sound, as though the walls catch your steps and hand them back to you like small coins. Halfway down, you hear it, the fountain's voice, but not quite. It is slower, its rhythm uneven, like rainwater dripping from a roof's edge after the storm has passed. It seems both nearer and farther than you expect. The healer notices your pause. Her gaze is calm, inviting you forward. Many monasteries had hidden or lesser-used stairways and passages, sometimes called night stairs, allowing monks to move between dormitories and the church without passing through the open cloister. Some led to private gardens or secluded chapels, their use known only to a few. The passage ends at a small wooden door bound in iron. Its latch is simple, a curve of black metal worn smooth where many hands have lifted it. The healer does so now, and the door swings inward with a sound more like a sigh than a creak. Cool green light spills in, the kind of light that passes through many leaves before reaching you. You step forward, and the scent you caught earlier now fills the air. Fresh earth, crushed stems, and a subtle sweetness you can't name. You are in another garden. It is not the main herb beds, nor the open cloister green. This is smaller, enclosed on all sides by high stone walls. Vines climb in thick braids up their faces, their leaves trembling slightly in a breeze you cannot feel on your skin. The ground is a patchwork of moss and flagstones, with narrow beds planted along the walls. The light here feels slower, not dimmer, but unhurried, as though the air itself wishes you to take each moment as a complete thing before moving to the next. The healer walks toward the far wall, where a fountain, unlike the cloisters, rests in a shaded niche. Its basin is smaller, fed not by a lion's head, but by a simple carved spout in the shape of a curled leaf. Water spills gently from its tip. It sounds soft enough to be mistaken for breathing. You realize that the sound you heard in the passage, that uneven dripping, was this fountain. The water's fall is slower, more deliberate, as though it waits between each drop to let you listen. The healer kneels beside one of the wall beds. She runs her fingertips lightly over the leaves of a plant you don't recognize. Slender stems topped with clusters of small star-shaped flowers. They are pale, almost silvery in this light. When she crushes one between her fingers, a scent rises that seems to curl directly into your memory, though you cannot place when you last knew it. She gestures for you to hold out your hand. She presses the crushed petals into your palm. Their dampness is cool, but the fragrance is warm. Somewhere between mint and honey, with a faint metallic note at the very edge. You close your eyes, breathing in. The scent deepens, thickening into the smell of the hidden moss clearing from your dream. And just like that, your body feels a half step lighter, as if gravity itself has softened its hold. When you open your eyes, the healer is watching you closely. She does not look surprised. Instead, she nods once, as if confirming something she already suspected. She stands, walks to the fountain's basin, and dips a small clay cup into the water. When she hands it to you, the cup is cool, its rim smooth from years of use. You drink. The water tastes of stone and shadowed leaves, yet leaves a faint sweetness at the back of your throat. Your chest feels wider, your breathing deeper. You glance at the fountain again, and for a heartbeat, you see something impossible. Its carved leaf spout gleams as though wet with dew and moonlight, though the sun has not yet set. The basin's surface shifts, not from the falling water, but as if stirred by a wind inside the stone itself. When you look back to the healer, she is standing very still, her hand resting lightly on the fountain's edge. The air around her seems slightly blurred, as though the garden is both here and somewhere else. You become aware of the smallest sounds, a droplet landing in the basin with a soft plip, the faint rustle of leaves against the wall, your own breath slowing to match the rhythm of the water. Somewhere far above, a dove calls once, its note fading into the green light. The healer moves toward the garden's farthest corner, where the moss grows thickest between the flagstones. She kneels and runs her fingers over it, then presses her palm flat. When she lifts her hand, you expect dampness. But instead, the moss rises slightly, as though leaning up to meet her touch. The sight is both strange and familiar. It is the same motion you saw in the dream garden, when the moss lifted to support your steps. Here, in waking light, it is subtler, but no less alive. She looks over her shoulder and gestures for you to join her. You kneel, placing your palm where hers had been. At first, it is simply moss, cool, springy. Then, very slowly, you feel it shift under your skin, a faint upward pressure, as if it recognizes you. When you lift your hand, your fingertips are clean, though you had expected bits of green to cling there. The healer stands again, her gaze on the small wooden door you entered through. Some gardens, she says softly, open only when the day is ready to close. Her words feel layered. You know she is not only speaking about plants and stone. You look once more at the fountain, at the way the light pools on its surface without moving. You are not certain whether you are fully in the monastery anymore, or already partly in the garden from your dream. And in this moment, you find you don't mind not knowing. And if you wish to walk into this hidden garden again, to feel the moss rise to meet you, and the water wait before it falls, you may softly subscribe, so this place will always be ready when the day leans toward its quiet close. The healer turns toward the door. You follow her, and though you glance back once, you half expect the garden to be gone. But it remains still, patient, as if it knows you will return. When you step back through the small wooden door, the corridor is not as you remember it. The air still holds the faint green sweetness of the hidden garden, but the light has shifted. It is neither the warm gold of afternoon nor the deepening blue of evening. Instead, it is something in between, a color you have no name for, soft as worn silk and steady as a held breath. The healer walks ahead, her steps slow and unhurried, as though she knows this light well. Her cloak's hem brushes the stones, making a sound like leaves sliding over each other. The walls seem taller than before, the arching ceiling higher, and there's a new sound. Not the cloister's fountain, not the leaf-shaped spout of the hidden garden, but a trickle with a hollow bell-like ring to it. It comes from somewhere beyond the corridor's curve. When you reach the bend, you find yourself stepping into a space you've never seen, yet it feels uncannily familiar. It is an open walk, like the cloister, but narrower, its arches looking not onto grass, but onto a long stretch of water. The surface is still like polished glass, catching the strange twilight light in silver streaks. Water lilies drift here, their pale blossoms open, each petal holding a droplet of light as if the sky has been distilled into them. In many medieval monasteries, ponds were kept not for decoration, but for fish, an important source of food on fasting days. Some were dug with channels to move water in and out, keeping it fresh. But here, this pond feels less like a store of food, and more like a mirror laid on the earth to keep the sky from spilling away. The healer stops at the edge of the archway and rests her hand on the stone. You notice the way her reflection wavers slightly on the pond's surface, even though the water is perfectly still. It is as if the water sees more than it shows. She glances at you, her eyes carrying a knowing calm, then steps forward, and her reflection in the pond moves ahead of her, faster than her body. Reaching the far arch before she does, feel a shiver run gently along your arms, not from fear, but from that deep recognition you've been feeling since the dream began to bleed into the waking. The walkway curves along the pond, each arch framing a new piece of water and sky. The lilies are closer now. When you lean forward slightly, you can see that their petals are not entirely white. Each one is edged with the faintest silver, as though the moon has touched them directly. The healer stops halfway along the curve. Here a stone bench sits against the wall, its surface patterned with lichen. She sits and gestures for you to do the same. You both face the pond. The stillness is deep here. Even your breathing feels as though it has slowed to match the rhythm of the water's silence. ASMR detail. Waters whisper somewhere out of sight. A single droplet falls into the pond. The ripples move outward slowly, reaching a lily and making it rock gently in place. The sound is soft, but in this stillness, it feels as though it carries for miles. The healer reaches into her basket and draws out something you have not seen before. A small, round vial of clear glass, sealed with a cork. Inside, a tiny sprig of lavender floats, its purple faded to silver. She holds it in her palm, turning it so the light catches the glass. This, she says softly, was taken from a garden that blooms only in dreams. Her voice does not question whether you understand. It simply offers the truth. She hands you the vial. It is warm, though you saw her take it from the basket without touching it for long. When you hold it up, the twilight light passes through it, casting a small purple shadow on your palm. The healer says nothing more, and for a long time you both watch the pond, the lilies, and the unchanging sky. Slowly, you realize that the pond's surface has changed. It now reflects not only the arches and lilies, but the moss clearing from your dream. The fountain is there, its water falling in slow, suspended drops. The light is moonlight, though you know it cannot yet be night. Your heart feels steady. This sight does not startle you now. It feels like coming home. The healer stands, her reflection in the pond rising a heartbeat before she does. She gestures for you to follow. The walkway ends at a small set of stone steps leading down to the pond's edge. The air is cooler here, the scent of the water mixing with something faintly herbal. Rosemary, perhaps, but softer. At the bottom step, she kneels and touches the surface of the pond with 2 fingers. The ripples move outward in a perfect circle, reaching every lily before they fade. She stands and turns to you. Some paths are not walked on stone, she says, but on water, on reflection, on the space between waking and sleep. You glance back at the pond. For a moment you think you see a path stretching across it, not made of wood or stone, but of light, woven between the lilies, leading toward a small arch you did not notice before at the far end. When you blink, the path is gone, but you know it will be there when the time is right. Okay, and if you wish to follow that path of light across the still water, to see where the lilies open into the moon's own garden, you may softly subscribe, so the reflection will be waiting whenever you are ready to step upon it. Healer walks on, her pace is unhurried as ever. You follow, carrying the vial of lavender in your hand, its silvered bloom swaying slightly in the glass, as though aware of where it is being taken. You walk beside the healer, her footsteps measured, her presence steady as the quiet air around you. The vial in your hand is warm now, warmer than before, as if it knows you are nearing a moment it has been waiting for. The walkway narrows until it comes to a stop at a half-arch of stone, its edges softened by age. Here the pond stretches wide and still, its silver lilies glowing faintly in the deepening twilight. The water's surface holds the reflection of the dream garden so clearly that for a moment you are unsure which side of it you are on. The healer stops at the edge, her cloak settling in a quiet fold around her. She looks toward the far end of the pond, where the arch you noticed earlier rests, half veiled by hanging vines. She speaks softly. Some doors open only when the feet remember where they've been. Then she turns to you, her gaze steady, inviting.
Ow.
The lilies nearest to you tremble ever so slightly, though there is no wind. Between them, a faint thread of light appears, no wider than a ribbon, but strong enough to hold the eye. It glows as though lit from within, its edges shimmering like dew caught in moonlight. The healer steps forward. When her foot touches the ribbon of light, the surface of the pond does not break. Instead, the light bends under her weight like soft cloth, holding her completely. The water beneath remains undisturbed, its reflection unbroken. She turns, holding out her hand. Shh. When your foot touches the light, the first thing you feel is warmth. Not from the sun, but from something deeper, as though the light remembers every step it has ever carried. There is no sensation of sinking, only a gentle upward push, as if the pond itself is lifting you. You take another step, and the ribbon of light extends forward, unrolling just far enough for the next movement. The lilies seem to lean toward you as you pass, their petals opening wider, catching more of the strange twilight glow. Halfway across, you pause. The air feels different here, cooler and yet softer against your skin. The pond on either side of you now shows two worlds. On your left, the monastery arches, stone and shadow. On your right, the moss clearing and silver fountain of your dream. The healer glances back at you, her face calm. You will carry both, she says, until one asks to be set down. In medieval times, sacred relics were sometimes carried over water during processions, believed to bless both the journey and the destination. Those who walked beside them often spoke of feeling the weight of the relic in ways that were not physical. But in the quiet center of the chest, you realize now that the vial in your hand feels heavier than it should. It's not a burden, but a presence, as if it contains more than lavender and water. The healer steps forward again, and you follow, the ribbon of light unfurling until the far arch grows close. The vines that veil it sway gently, though you feel no breeze. When you reach the arch, you see that its stones are darker than any you've passed beneath in the monastery. They are flecked with something faintly luminous, like the dust on a moth's wing. The vines part just enough for the healer to pass, and as you follow, brush your shoulders lightly. A touch so soft, it feels more like a memory than a plant. Beyond the arch, the ground is no longer stone, nor is it the smooth path of the monastery garden. It is moss, thick, springy, and silver green in the twilight. You recognize it instantly, though you have only seen it in dreams. The air here is cooler, but alive with scent. Lavender, sage, rosemary, and something you cannot name. something that hums faintly in the back of your mind. The healer stops and kneels, placing her palm flat on the moss. It lifts under her touch, just as it did in the hidden garden, but more vividly now, rising almost an inch, like soft earth breathing. She gestures for you to do the same. When your palm meets the moss, it responds instantly, pushing up to meet your hand, its texture plush and impossibly smooth. A warmth spreads through your fingers, traveling up your arm to your chest, settling deep and steady in your breathing. The sound here is unlike any other place you have been. It is not silence, but a deep, slow hush, as though the entire ground is inhaling and exhaling in unison with you. Every now and then you hear the faintest shee of leaves against one another far above. The healer stands, and for the first time since you entered the monastery, you notice a faint change in her. Her cloak seems lighter, its edges less defined, as though she is being drawn gently into the very air of this place. She turns to you. "You have crossed," she says simply. "From here, the way forward remembers you as much as you remember it." Somewhere ahead, the fountain you saw in the pond's reflection begins to glimmer through the trees. Its water falls in impossibly slow arcs, each droplet holding its shape as though suspended. The healer gestures toward it, but does not move to lead you. This part of the path, it seems, is for you to take alone. And if you wish to walk this moss again, to feel the ground breathe beneath you and see the droplets of water hang like pearls in the air, you may softly subscribe. So the path will open each time you are ready to cross. You take your first step forward without the healer beside you. The moss rising a little higher under your feet, as though it knows your weight now and has chosen to carry you deeper. The moss yields beneath your steps, lifting just enough to cradle your feet as you move forward. The air is alive here. You can feel it in the fine hairs on your arms, in the slow rhythm of your breathing. The lavender vial in your hand feels warmer with each step, as though it recognizes where you are headed. Through the silver-green haze of the moss garden, you see it more clearly now. The fountain from your dreams, nestled in a clearing where the air seems to glow on its own. It is not tall, but its presence fills the space, as if it has been here longer than the trees themselves. Its basin is wide and shallow, hewn from pale stone that shimmers faintly as though dusted with frost. From the center rises a column carved into the shape of twisting vines, each leaf detailed enough to catch the dim light. And at the top, a single, perfect blossom. Stone yet so delicately made you could believe it would sway in the wind. From the heart of that blossom, water falls in slow, deliberate arcs. Not a stream, but droplets, each one suspended for an impossible moment before descending into the basin. The sound is unlike any fountain in the waking world. Each droplet lands with a muted note, a soft plunk that seems to echo longer than it should. Between drops you can hear the faint hum of the moss beneath your feet, the whisper of leaves high above. And your own heart beats slower than you have ever known it. You step closer. When you look into the water, you do not see your reflection. Dead, you see the pond from earlier, the lilies, the silvered sky, and the ribbon of light you walked upon. It is as though the fountain remembers your crossing and has kept it for you, held here in its basin. The healer has not followed you into the clearing. She stands at its edge, watching quietly, her hands folded in front of her. It seems she knows this is not her place to step. You kneel at the basin's edge. The stone is cool under your fingers, yet when you touch the water it feels warm, the same warmth as the vial in your hand. The two sensations meet in your mind, and for a moment you know without question that they belong to one another. You lift the vial. The lavender sprig inside has changed. Its silver hue is now streaked with faint glimmers of purple, like dawn creeping across a pale sky. The cork comes away silently. When you tilt the vial over the fountain, the water within it does not fall in a stream. It releases in a single droplet, perfectly round, gliding downward as if reluctant to leave. It meets the fountain's surface without a splash. Instead, the entire basin brightens, light swelling outward in a soft, pearlescent wave. In some medieval monasteries, water drawn from sacred wells or fountains was kept in small flasks as a relic, believed to hold blessings or healing. Returning the water to its source was thought to renew both the source and the bearer. As the light from the droplet fades, the water in the basin shifts. Instead of the pond's reflection, you see the hidden garden within the monastery walls, the one with the moss beds and vine-covered walls. But it is not as you left it. In the reflection, the garden is moonlit, its shadows deep, and its plants silvered. The leaf-shaped spout pours water that glows faintly, and you can almost smell the herbs from here. You reach into the basin again, and this time the water clings to your fingers, not in wetness, but in light. Thin threads of silver trailing from your skin before fading into the air. The lavender vial is now empty, yet it feels heavier than before. When you peer into it, you see not darkness, but the faintest swirl of pale mist, turning slowly like breath on a cold morning. The healer steps forward at last, but only to the edge of the moss where it meets the clearing. Her voice is quiet, meant for your ears alone. The garden you saw in the water, she says, is the same garden you walked in the waking world. But now you may find it here as well. When the moon is right and the moss remembers your feet, you close the vial again, slipping the cork gently into place. As you do, the fountain's blossom releases another droplet, larger this time as if in answer. It falls slowly, and when it lands, you hear a note in the sound. Not just water, but something like the faintest chime of a bell far away. The moss at the fountain's base seems to rise slightly, not just where you stand, but all around the clearing. It is as though the entire ground is listening, waiting. You stay there for a while, letting the water's rhythm settle deep into you. There is no rush here. No sense of time beyond the fall of each droplet. Lavender scent lingers faintly, weaving with the cooler notes of the fountain spray. When you finally stand, the healer nods once, a gesture of both welcome and farewell. She does not step closer. You understand now? This part of the garden belongs to your own steps. As you turn to leave the clearing, you glance back once. The fountain remains as it was, its blossom tilting slightly toward you, as if it knows you will return. And if you wish to see the lavender sprig change again, to watch the fountain's droplets carry the moon into the water, you may softly subscribe, so this place will be here. Whenever the path across the still pond opens for you, you step away from the fountain, and already the air feels different, thinner, as if each breath carries something more than air. The vial in your hand is cool again, yet the corked mist inside moves in slow, deliberate swirls, as though it is watching the garden with you. The moss path curves gently, its edges fading into shadows where the silver-green glow of the ground does not quite reach. Overhead, the branches begin to thin, revealing a stretch of sky so perfectly still that the stars look carved into it. And then, a change. The moon rises from behind the treetops. It is larger than you have ever seen it in waking life, its light soft but unyielding, washing the entire garden in a pale silver that seems to hum quietly at the edges of your hearing. You hear it before you realize you see it. The sound of moonlight touching leaves, a faint sheen as if 100 silken threads are being drawn through gentle fingers. The moss underfoot responds, lifting fractionally higher with each step you take. The plants around you begin to change. Lavender stalks, which in daylight were still and pale, now lean subtly toward you, their blossoms deepening into a shade richer than dusk. Rosemary's needles catch the moonlight in 1,000 pinpricks of silver. Sage leaves curl slightly, revealing a pale underside that glows faintly in the low light. In the Middle Ages, certain herbs were believed to hold greater potency when harvested under specific phases of the moon. Lavender, gathered on a full moon's night, was prized for easing restless sleep. Sage was thought to bring clarity of thought if cut at midnight. Rosemary, when gathered under moonlight, was said to guard the breath against illness. As you walk, the scents grow more pronounced. Lavender drifts first, its sweetness rolling over you like a slow tide. Then rosemary joins, cooler and sharper, clearing the air inside your lungs. Sage follows, earthy and grounding, as if anchoring your steps to the moss path. You realize with a quiet certainty that you could name each plant by scent alone now. You come to a small alcove in the path, a half circle bordered by waist-high hedges. In its center stands a wooden table, its surface worn smooth, with a mortar and pestle carved from pale stone resting on it. The moonlight pools on the table like water in a shallow bowl. The healer is here, though you didn't see her approach. Her cloak moves slightly, but there is no wind. She does not speak at first, simply looks at you, then down at the mortar. From the folds of her sleeve, she draws a small bundle of herbs bound with twine. She lays them in the moonlight and begins to untie the knot. Her fingers slow, deliberate, each motion deliberate enough to draw your gaze deeper. She separates the sprigs, lavender to the left, sage to the right, rosemary in between, and gestures for you to place your hands over them without touching. When you do, you feel a pulse. It's faint but real, a rhythm that matches the rise and fall of your breath. It is not the plants moving. It is the light passing through them and into you. The healer's voice is low, barely above the rustle of leaves. These are not for the waking garden, she says. They are for the one that waits when you close your eyes. She picks up the lavender first, placing it in the mortar. The pestle moves slowly, the grinding sounds soft and rounded. When she is done, the scent is stronger, soothing yet vivid, like a memory brought forward from years ago. She adds rosemary next, its sharper scent weaving into the lavender's softness. Finally, she folds in the sage, its earthy depth completing the blend. Air around the table changes. It's as if the garden itself is drawn closer, leaning in to watch. She takes the mixture in her hands, holding it over the vial you carry. The cork lifts without you touching it. Mist inside swirls faster, as if eager. The healer lets the crushed herbs fall slowly into the vial, and the mist enfolds them, turning a richer, deeper silver. As the last fragment of sage drops inside, you hear a faint hum from the vial, not from the glass, but from whatever is now inside it. It is a sound you can feel more than hear, like a cat's purr beneath your palm. The healer looks at you. You carry the moon's touch now, she says. It will keep the path open longer, so you may return more easily. She sets the vial in your palm, closing your fingers gently around it. The warmth returns instantly, seeping through your skin and into the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. You both stand in the moonlit alcove for a time, saying nothing. The scents around you do not fade. Instead, they weave together into something whole, a single fragrance that feels both calming and alert. Like the edge of sleep when dreams are just beginning to form. A cluster of low blossoms near your feet release the strange scent that led you here. They are pale as milk, but the center of each flower holds a drop of liquid so clear it catches every flicker of candlelight. You kneel beside them, careful not to touch. The vial hums more strongly now, its mist pressing faintly against the glass, as if it wishes to join them. From the far side of the glass house, a shape moves, and you realize the healer is here after all. She is tending a table lined with clay bowls, each holding roots, petals, or seeds. She glances at you, then at the pale blossoms at your feet. They are called Lunar's breath, she says softly. They open only when the moon is high and close before the first hint of dawn. Their dew holds what is left of dreams forgotten before waking. She gestures for you to bring the vial forward. You do, and she opens it without a sound. One of the blossoms tilts toward you, as though drawn to the faint hum inside the glass. From its center, The single droplet of dew rises, lifting slowly into the air until it hovers just above the vial's mouth. It drops in without a splash. Mist inside stirs, turning opalescent, shifting between silver, gold, and pale violet. For the first time, the vial doesn't just hum. It pulses gently. A soft throb of warmth that moves in time with your own heartbeat. The healer nods. This will help you remember the garden more clearly in waking hours, she says, but it will also let the garden remember you. She turns back to her work, hands moving slowly, sorting seeds into small parchment packets. The candlelight paints her face in warm shadows. But there is something else, a faint shimmer along the edge of her form, as though the garden itself is beginning to claim her. You linger a while in the glass house, listening to the quiet. No sound here is hurried. Every shift of leaf, every drop of unseen condensation, feels as though it is measured in heartbeats rather than minutes. When you finally step outside, the night air feels cooler. But the scent of Lunar's breath clings to you, woven now into the lavender, rosemary, and sage. The moss path greets you again, its glow slightly stronger than before, as if it knows you carry something new within the vial. You can see the fountain's silver droplets falling, still slow, still deliberate, like the garden's own steady breath. And if you wish to walk to the glass house again, to see the Lunar's breath bloom under the great silver moon, you may softly subscribe, so the scent will find you. Even when your eyes are closed, you're halfway back along the moss path. The warmth of the Lunar's breath still lingering in your chest when you hear it. A sound so soft you wonder if it began inside your own mind. Bell. Not loud, not the booming toll of a church at midday, but a low, rounded tone that seems to travel more through the air than over it. It does not hurry. Each chime is a full breath apart, and in the pause between, the garden grows impossibly still. The sound is not a strike, but a slow bloom, as if the note swells like water rising in a glass, then tips gently over the edge into silence. You stop walking. The moss beneath your feet seems to rise just a fraction, as though listening with you. Far above the treetops you glimpse the source, a narrow stone tower, its walls the color of weathered parchment. It wasn't there before. Or perhaps it was. Hidden until the bell gave it form. The chime calls again, and your feet begin to move of their own accord. The moss path narrows, then gives way to smooth stone steps that curl upward along the inside of the tower wall. Each step feels slightly warmer than the last, as though you are walking into a place that has been tended for centuries. You pass narrow windows cut into the stone, tall slits through which the moonlight spills in thin beams, catching dust that dances lazily in the air. The sound of the bell grows no louder, yet it fills you more completely, resonating somewhere behind your ribs. The steps open suddenly into a small, circular room. Its walls are lined not with windows, but with wooden shelves, each stacked with parchment-bound books and rolled scrolls tied in faded ribbons. The air is heavy with the scent of beeswax, dry paper, and something green and faintly sweet like dried mint crushed between fingertips. Dote. In the center of the room sits a table of dark oak, its surface smooth from centuries of hands resting there. A single candle burns in a tall iron holder, its flame unmoving despite the open windows. Beside it lies an open book. Its pages are thick, creamy, edges uneven. On the left page is a careful drawing of a plant you recognize. Lavender, but rendered in ink so fine it seems to breathe. On the right page, lines of text in a hand so delicate it feels like a whisper made visible. Medieval monasteries. Monks and nuns copied herbals. Books describing the medicinal uses of plants. These were often illustrated with detailed drawings, since accurate recognition of a plant could mean the difference between cure and harm. Each copy was a work of devotion, often accompanied by marginal notes in a scribe's own voice. You run your fingers just above the page, not touching, but tracing the air over each letter. The ink is brown now, but you can imagine it as deep black when first written. A faint scent rises from it, not ink, but the dried plant it describes. It is as if the scribe ground a fragment of lavender into the pigment itself. The bell chimes again, but now the sound comes from directly above. You glance upward to see a second, smaller room accessed by a ladder in the corner. Its opening glows faintly gold. You climb slowly, your hands brushing the smooth wood of the ladder. At the top, you emerge into a space barely large enough for the single bronze bell that hangs there. Its surface is etched with vines and blossoms, every leaf and petal worn soft by time. A rope hangs from its heart, but it sways gently, without wind or hand. Each time it moves, the bell's chime rolls out, soft enough to soothe, deep enough to anchor itself in your memory. From here, you can see through the open slats of the tower walls. The garden spreads below, moonlit and silver. The fountain gleams, the moss paths glow, and in the distance, you catch the faintest sparkle of the glass house roof. The vial in your pocket warms. When you take it out, you see the mist inside curl in rhythm with the bells swaying. With every chime, a thin thread of silver light winds upward from the vial, vanishing into the air around the bell. The healer's voice comes from below, though you've never heard her enter the tower. "Every plant in this garden is remembered here," she says. "Every leaf, every petal, every root." The bell rings so the garden does not forget itself, or you.